I'm Dr. Priyanka, Assistant Professor, Department of Physiology from Sree Balaji Medical College and Hospital. I have 18 years of teaching experience with 19 publications, 1 ICMR STS project completed with 1 patent published and ISA Care Level 1 course completed. Let's go for today's class. The topic for today is hypothalamus. The location of the hypothalamus is actually located below the thalamus, and that is why the name hypothalamus. It weighs around 10 grams in weight, and along with the thalamus, with subthalamus and the hypothalamus forms your diencephalon of your brain. There are various nuclei present in your hypothalamus. Let's see only the main parts which is involved in the important functions of your body. They are actually categorized into 3 groups: your anterior, middle and the posterior. The anterior is also called as a preoptic group, the middle is also called as a tuberal group, and the posterior is also called as a mammillary group. The anterior group consists of your preoptic, paraventricular, anterior, supraoptic and suprachiasmatic nucleus. Your middle or the tuberal group consists of your dorsomedial, dorsomedial, ventromedial, lateral nuclei and arcuate nuclei. And the posterior mammillary group consists of your posterior hypothalamic nuclei, mammillary and supramammillary bodies. There are many functions for your hypothalamus. Let's see one by one. They regulate your anterior pituitary hormones, especially they help in the releasing and inhibiting hormones of your hypothalamus like GHRH, GHIH, PRH, PIH. What is GHRH? Your growth hormone releasing hormone, growth hormone inhibiting hormone, that is essential for the regulation of the growth hormone secretion. And your prolactin hormone, you have your prolactin releasing hormone and your prolactin inhibiting hormone. Same way you have your CRH coming from your hypothalamus, that is going to help in the release of ACTH from your anterior pituitary, and you have the TRH, your thyroid releasing hormone coming from your hypothalamus, that will help in the release of TSH from your anterior pituitary. So thus all releasing inhibiting hormones are coming from your hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is important for regulation of your autonomic nervous system, especially your flight and fright reaction. So what is flight and fright reaction? Whenever the hypothalamus is getting exposed to stress, automatically it activates your adrenocorticotrophic hormones from your adrenal cortex, and in turn it is going to initiate the stress is going to initiate the hypothalamus to release CRH, corticotrophin releasing hormone. This CRH will go stimulate your pituitary gland to release ACTH. This ACTH will go stimulate your adrenal cortex to release your glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids and the sex steroids. These glucocorticoids are important for managing your stress because they will increase the blood glucose level. Thus, it is going to cause flight and fright reactions. So next is your satiety center and your feeding center. What is satiety center and feeding center? It is involved in your food intake. So as and when you take your food, once you finish the level of when you feel the fullness, you say the food intake is enough. So in that case, what happens? That feeling of fullness, it is called as a satiety. And whenever you feel hungry, it is the hunger sensation that is carried out. That is actually because of the feeding center present in your hypothalamus. So whenever your satiety center is getting stimulated, who is the satiety center present in your hypothalamus? It is your VMN, ventromedian nucleus of your hypothalamus is the satiety center, which tells you the feeling of fullness, and the feeling of hunger is actually initiated by your lateral nucleus of your hypothalamus. So whenever this LN is stimulated, automatically we start eating. Once we start eating, the blood glucose level slowly increases, and when the blood glucose level increases, the ventromedial nucleus says that the fullness is actually brought out, the satiety feeling is brought out, and after the satiety feeling is brought out, we stop eating. Then again, when the blood glucose level dips down, your LN nucleus, the lateral nucleus, gets activated and feeding again starts to continue. It is because of the presence of your 2 anorexigenic hormones called as your peptide YY and your leptin. So these 2 hormones, when they are present in a normal level, they inhibit your appetite, that is food intake, and thus those 2 hormones are very important for your weight management. When these 2 hormones goes for imbalance or it goes to reduce, what happens? We start to eat uncontrollably and it leads to obesity. Next function is your temperature regulation. Temperature regulation is mainly brought out by your preoptic nuclei and your anterior nuclei. This preoptic nuclei is important in your temperature regulation. It is going to help in both whenever the body needs heat during winter condition, or whenever the body needs to be cold, that is cold in the sense whenever the body heat increases, it is going to initiate sweating, and thus the body comes to cooling position, and thus it is leading to the normal set point of 37 degrees centigrade. So in this flow chart I have put the preoptic and the anterior nuclei of the hypothalamus, they get activated. It will stimulate your posterior hypothalamus to stimulate your sympathetic stimulation. This in turn will cause vasoconstriction, and then it is going to cause piloerection, and it is going to increase your thermogenesis. The heat is actually produced in the body until it reaches a set point of 37 degrees centigrade. And once this set point is brought out, then the cold receptors again get stimulated, and again the preoptic nuclei, the cycle continues. Next one is the warmth receptors from the skin whenever the deep viscera is getting stimulated, that is whenever the body needs heat. So whenever the body increases with the heat, so what happens, again your preoptic and the anterior hypothalamus gets stimulated, and then it is going to stimulate your posterior hypothalamus. They are going to inhibit the sympathetic stimulation. This in turn is going to cause sweating in the body, and this sweating will bring back the temperature, increase temperature to 37 degrees centigrade set point, and thus the body is kept cool. So the body temperature is getting regulated according to heat and cold conditions with the presence of your preoptic and the anterior nuclei. Next one is the blood osmolarity. The blood osmolarity is maintained by the presence of the osmoreceptors present in the hypothalamus. What are osmoreceptors? They are actually osmosensors. They react or they respond to the osmotic changes happening in your body. Whenever there is hyperosmolar condition, the osmoreceptors tend to shrink. Whenever there is hypoosmolar condition, these osmoreceptors tend to swell. So when there is shrinkage, it is indicating that the body is deficient of water, and thus the hypothalamus will stimulate a posterior pituitary hormone called as ADH, ADH, it is antidiuretic hormone. This ADH will stimulate your thirst, plus it is going to increase the water reabsorption at the level of your renal tubules, and thus the body fluid is restored to your body. Okay, so whenever the body is having excess of water, then these osmoreceptors will tend to swell. When they swell, what will happen? The excess water has to be excreted out through the body. So what happens? The ADH secretion gets decreased or stopped, and the body stops to reabsorb water, and they start getting excreted in the urine. So thus these osmoreceptors, that is your OVLT, the subfornical organ SFO, and the supraoptic and the paraventric nuclei. So your thirst center is actually OVLT and SFO. Your regulation of water intake is done by your SOP and PVN. Your ADH hormone comes from this place. So thus the water is actually regulated through these four nuclei. You have an internal clock in your body which is going to regulate your circadian rhythm, your sleep-wake cycle. So that internal clock is actually SCN, suprachiasmatic nuclei, present in your hypothalamus, which will sense the timings of the day, or that is based upon the light falling on your retina. So this is what is more common in case of lower animals. They tend to wake up early morning. They have an internal clock set inside, that is because of their activated SCN, suprachiasmatic nuclei, present in the hypothalamus, which senses the circadian rhythm, that is which is the day, which is the night, is automatically sensed inside. You have the reward and the punishment center. So the reward center in turn will make you do things again and again, because it makes you feel happy when someone is praising you. You have a reward center in your brain. It is called as your medial forebrain bundle, especially your ventromedial of the hypothalamus and the lateral. So mostly the ventromedial is actually a stronger stimulus for your, it has got a stronger stimulus for your reward center, and the lateral has a weaker stimulus. And you also have a punishment center where once this center is getting stimulated, you stop doing that activity, that is your lateral nucleus. So these two centers actually keeps you alert by not doing wrong things and only doing good things, and it keeps making you do good things. So this was actually studied using a monkey, giving monkey inside a cage where two switches were set a green and the red. Whenever the monkey pressed the green, it got chocolates and it felt happy and it kept doing the same action again and again. Whereas when it pressed the red switch, what happened? It received a shock and thus it stopped doing that activity. So this is where they found that there are two centers called as reward center and punishment center inside us. So thus the two centers for the reward and the punishment is your lateral nucleus and your ventromedial nucleus, VMN nucleus. So I've put all the functions in the nutshell in this tabular column. You can go through. And lastly, the applied aspects. So the applied aspects consist of Prader-Willi syndrome. What is this Prader-Willi syndrome is that whenever there is increased appetite, so when the food intake, your satiety center is not telling you the fullness of the stomach. So we will not know that the stomach is full and we continue to eat. So there is a condition, there is a genetic condition when the chromosome number 15 is getting affected. There is aberration happening in chromosome number 15. Children with Prader-Willi syndrome tend to have hyperphagic voracious eating, which will lead to abnormal obesity. There's the opposite that is taking place in other cases, like they'll have loss of appetite or they will not have food at all, which will lead to skinniness of the body. The condition is called as anorexia nervosa, or then a condition called as bulimia, where in bulimia they tend to have their food but still they initiate vomiting voluntarily and then they will not have any food intake. So those people also have loss of appetite. So these are abnormal conditions related to the food intake. Either they take voracious food intake or they don't take food at all. So the next one is actually they'll have increased urine output, they have increased thirstness, which is in case of central diabetes insipidus. Actually, diabetes insipidus happens at the renal level also, because this is happening at the level of hypothalamus when there is the fluid osmolarity is not maintained properly by your SOP and PVN. Then it will lead to your central diabetes insipidus, because the problem happens at the level of hypothalamus. And there is sleep disturbances when the circadian rhythm is not working properly, leading to insomnia. And you have temperature dysregulation. The body will not respond to proper heat and cold conditions according to the environmental changes. And you have the Laurel Moon syndrome, LMS, and BBS. You have the Barrett-Biddle syndrome. It is again a genetic disorder. What happens? It is going to cause multiple changes in the body, where it is again due to your hypothalamic dysfunction, leading to hormonal imbalance, and thus there is metabolic disturbances and reproductive disturbances happening in your body. And there is a hypothalamic hematomas, where it is again a rare lesion happening at the third floor of your ventricle, and it is going to lead to precocious puberty, again because of your dysfunctional hypothalamic functions, leading to gelastic seizures. Gelastic seizures is exclusively seen only in case of this hypothalamic hematomas, where it is a non-cancerous brain malfunction leading to uncontrolled laughter and other abnormal behavioral changes. Pituitary adenomas may lead to Cushing syndromes or acromegaly, where the hormones gets secreted abnormally increased because of the tumors present in your pituitary gland. Narcolepsy and cataplexy are also caused when there is loss of hypocretin. It is nothing but it is an orexin. It is secreted from the neurons of the hypothalamus. They are actually important for regulating your sleep and wakefulness. So when these neurons are getting affected, the subject may tend to sleep for long hours. So that is what is the condition in case of narcolepsy and cataplexy. So this may destabilize the brain ability to maintain arousal and alertness, and it may lead to excessive daytime sleepiness, and there is sudden muscle weakness, paralysis, cataplectic conditions are also observed. So with that we come to the end of the class. I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.